passion was, how can I help other small businesses tap into this, and get them excited about the process too.
And I do think that there are many small businesses that don't place a value on PR or probably don't really understand it. So in terms of strategies, like what sort of strategies could you recommend to small businesses that are on a budget to be able to kind of start their PR journey? What would you recommend these guys go and do?
Okay, so I mean, there's different types of PR you can do. So you can talk about your product, you can talk about your service, but you can also start to talk about yourself as an entrepreneur. And so there's a whole profile building, interviews, that side of things, whether it's with publications or podcasts or speaking at events. So I would say, first of all, look at, your key messages. What have you got to share with people? As we say, who are you and why should I care? And we say that because one day we picked up the phone to speak to Sky News, and the guy answered the phone saying exactly that. Who are you and why should I care? And so it's kind of stuck with me ever since. So it really is that, you've got to be quite brutal and say, yeah, why should anyone care about what I have to say? Or, why are my products interesting? Why is my service interesting? How do I stand out? How am I different from the rest? Because to get the coverage, yes, it does need to be newsworthy. It does, you've got to tick certain boxes for them to be interested. Why should the readers of that newspaper, magazine, etc., or the listeners of that podcast, why would they be interested in your story? And I'm not saying that to, when I say be brutal, I don't want you to think, oh, no, I'm not of interest. Nobody would really care. Everybody has a story. Every single one of you can do PR. So you just got to find the right hook, first of all.
I think you've made a really good point there that I just want to touch on. How do you kind of overcome that imposter syndrome of thinking that I don't have anything to share? So I do think that's holding a lot of people back. It's just little old me. I haven't got a story. No one's going to listen to me. I've got nothing to put out. So how do you get over that? Because again, like you said, everyone's got a story, right? So how do you get yourself confident?
Yeah, well, the confidence is another thing, but definitely everybody has a story. Every company has something to offer and to share. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business, let's face it. So, I think if you struggle to do it yourself, then definitely work with someone, again, an agency or a freelancer, because they will prize it out of you. They will ask the right questions, and they will see. Sometimes we don't see what's good about ourselves or our business, and it takes an outsider to come and say, are you crazy? Like, your company is so good. I had one of my very first clients, not the first, but, early days, amazing lady who was running a tech business, and they were doing so well. And she could not see how on earth they could get some PR. She just didn't see it whatsoever. And oh my goodness, we had a field day with that client. I mean, there was so much to talk about. It was unreal. But again, it just took me by surprise that she couldn't see it. So I would say definitely talk to someone else about it and just say, hey, what, or even ask your clients or, friends or mentors, what is special about my business? Why would somebody be interested?
Yeah, amazing stuff. When I worked with you guys in the early days, I think one of the key things for me was, you know a lot about the opportunities that the business owner doesn't, and also where to position yourself. And again, like you've said, it's how to position yourself. So working with a PR agency does help if you haven't got the confidence to be able to do it on your own, or how to frame up the story. You got me personally a lot of great accolades. And I was saying to the guys in the room about, you know, the Forbes 30 under 30 one. And that one for me is one of my proudest ones. It's pretty much up there, I'd say, with The Apprentice, of getting on board with that. And if I hadn't had a PR company, if you guys didn't propose for me to apply to that, then I never would have got it. Yeah, so there is huge value there. And again, you know, I think working with an agency gives you a financial commitment, because even though I've seen the value of PR, at times it's been like, oh, you know, I've got other things to do, or not properly committing, and then you realise you're paying, so then you better commit. You know, you got money and that you need, you know, you paid for it, so you got to do it, just like anything. So the financial commitment does help. I've got some specific questions here that I've wrote down, so I want to go through them if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So number 2 is, how can small business owners build and maintain positive relationships with the media?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think the most important thing, if you're going to do PR, is the consistency and building relationships. And the thing about PR, it's a long-term investment. It's not those short-term gains. So going to a journalist and sort of almost demanding, and I've seen this happen, you know, demanding that they write about you because you've just done something brilliant. That's not going to work. It's really having conversations with journalists, either by email or on the phone, if you can get them. They are so time poor, it's really hard to get their attention these days. But just know that over the long term, it's super important to build relationships with journalists, whether that's your local, regional newspapers. And don't dismiss regional and local, because that can escalate to national. The nationals are always looking out for those local, regional stories, be it for the newspapers or TV or radio. So it's always a good, you know, first step. But even with your industry sector press, you know, you'll know this, you know, build those relationships. Make sure that they know what you're doing. Keep them up to date, even if they don't come back to you. Again, don't get disheartened if journalists don't reply. They very rarely do, but it doesn't mean that they haven't seen, you know, your press release or your email or your pitch. It's just they're too busy to get back to everybody. But just constantly keeping them informed is a really smart way to build those relationships.
Amazing, good stuff. We started this morning with the theme of this Millionaire Mastermind, and it's all about thinking big, you know, and to think big and to be able to hit big, you've got to get attention. We were speaking about Charlie Mullins, I know you know well, and, you know, him recently selling and exiting his business for 140 million. The main reason that they bought that was because of the brand. You know, and he's done a lot of PR over the years, and one of his quotes is can you afford to have a PR company? The question is, can you afford not to? And he's played a very, very long game. And, you know, he's had many, many offers, though, over the years. I don't just want to put it in the perspective of it takes 40 years to exit. Obviously, he's had many offers over the years to sell that business. But being realistic, you know, how long does it take to start building momentum? Because I think with PR, people, you know, they start on the first month and go, well, I haven't got anything, this doesn't work. You know, so how do, what's the kind of time frame to be realistic, to be able to measure the success, would you say? Is it 6 months, 12 months, 2 years?
Yeah, that's another good question. It really depends on the business and what you're trying to achieve. So we can get wins for clients, you know, usually from month 1. We certainly say from month 3. In fact, our conditions, we have a contract for 3 months, and then it's month by month, because, you know, we're pretty sure that we can get you good results from month 3. But, you know, for the long-term gain, thinking, you know, big, how do you build? Because PR, at the end of the day, why are you getting the coverage? Why are you getting the attention? Is it to raise awareness of your brand? Is it to sell products? Is it to, you know, really build an excellent reputation? You know, all of these can be done by, you know, PR. It's just what are you in it for? Now, to build an excellent reputation, obviously you're not going to necessarily do that overnight. You may have an excellent reputation, it's just not enough people know about you. So I think it really depends in that sense of, you know, what you want to achieve. But in my book, you should start PR from day one, and you should keep going with PR. Even if you've got a tiny budget, it's that consistency that will get you places. It's consistency that will open doors, you know, it's that trickle effect, isn't it? That over time, more people get to hear about you, more doors open. And you know, people will start coming to you. That's what we find, you know, with our clients, is we're perhaps going out to the journalists, the media initially, but over time, they start coming to our clients, you know, and they bypass us sometimes. Sometimes they come to us, sometimes they go, you know, directly to you, right?
Yeah.
Because they know you. Because we've formed that, we've helped enable that relationship. But that only happens over time. So I would say, you know, whatever budget you've got, spread it out, make it last as long as possible, because it's over time that will yield the best results.